Doctors told him it wasn't a problem. He went back again, and it turned out he had terminal testicular cancer, stage 4. He went into the hospital on July 25th, 2009. Eventually, they came to the conclusion the only way to save him was to inject his own stem cells back into his body. That was his last hope. Chemo wasn't doing much for him. While he was in the hospital, he kept training for the 70.3 right here in Kona. That's what kept him sane. The walk from his hospital room around to the nurse's station and back with his IV bags, 36 laps to the mile, which he did over and over and over again along with sit-ups and push-ups. On June 5th, 2010, he finished the 70.3 right here in Kona, Hawaii. He was still living in the hospital that whole time. He's only been out of the hospital since August 25th, just 6 weeks or so ago. But on Saturday, he's going to be racing with you. Please give it up for Mr. Clayton Treska. Where are you at, Clay?
Stand up, there it is. Yeah.
Clayton!
Look at him.
Look at how good this guy
is. Looking good, feeling good.
So back in 1996, local Kona guy by the name of Corey Falk thought that needed to change perceptions a little bit. Everybody thought they needed a $10,000 bike to do the Ironman. Corey wanted to show that wasn't the case. So he bought a 61-pound Schwinn Typhoon for $15. Spent $25 on spray paint, neon yellow. He did the bike ride barefoot. Had a bottle of water in his basket on the front in case his feet got too hot. He actually was working for a radio station along the way, calling in, so he had rolls of quarters in the basket, and he stopped at a laundromat out in Hawaii, put the kickstand down, and called in to tell how he was doing. He ended up going 8:50.21 for the bike and 15:46 on a cruiser. He decided, you know what? I'm going to try something a little different. So last year, he brought a fixie to the Ironman. One gear for the entire bike ride. And he couldn't stand up out of the saddle. He thought it was going to be easier. 130 RPM for 112 miles. Figure that one out. 8:01.28 for the bike, 6:32.45 for the run, 16:34.35 overall. The fixie toasted my legs worse than the cruiser ever could. Wow. Please give it up for 51-year-old Corey Falk, who's doing the fixie again, hoping to do it on one gear, going for his 16th finish here in Kona, Hawaii. Corey Falk!
Stand up, Corey. There he is.
15 years, never athletic. In June of 2009, he did his first triathlon as a sprint. It's a little over a year ago. This spring, he did his first ever 70.3. And his line is that everyone has challenges in their life, and mine are just a little more visible than other people's. And his motto, embrace everything about yourself and have no fear. Yesterday, he swam 1:17 with one arm. As a double below knee amputee, he rode 7:07. And he ran 5:36 for a total of 14:19.
Unbelievable.
So we're talking last night. He goes, when I told people I was going to do the Ironman, I was told it couldn't be done. He told me last night. Well, he smiled. It's done. Let's hear it for Rasjesh. Durban. If you guys swam out at the pier every day, you saw the cruise ship, and every time they bring the cruise ship in, they set out chairs for when they bring the people off the cruise ships. Karen Bivens from Tucson, Arizona is 66 years old. Her 4th time racing here, and one of her favorite things about race week is swimming out there when they're bringing the cruise ship in, and then the chairs are set up. She goes, when the ship comes in, I see all these people who are about my age, and they set up these little folding chairs because the folks can't walk far and they have to sit in the chairs as they bring the bus up to take them around the Target and around the island. She goes, I do the Ironman because I don't want to become one of those folding chair people. I want to stay with the Ironman people.
Wow.
Yesterday, 66-year-old Karen Bivens showed she's definitely not ready for the folding chair. She went 15:49.
Wow.
And we were out there and we saw this woman go by walking with what looked like a ski boot on her foot.
Yes.
And I think a lot of you guys saw her.
Yes. Ooh. That was great.
6 weeks ago, Katie Roseanne, a 47-year-old mother of 3 from Anchorage, Alaska, found out she had a stress fracture and she couldn't run. But there's no way she wasn't going to race here. She couldn't put a bike shoe on until 2.5 weeks ago. She was still on crutches until 2 weeks ago. This was her 3rd time in Kona and her 12th Ironman. So to be able to do the race, because there's no way she wasn't going to do it, she had to walk the entire race wearing this black boot that you see on her foot. She did a 1:22 swim, 6:15 bike, and she had a 13-minute bike-to-run transition as he put her boot on. And she walked the entire marathon in a 7:37. That's a 17:37 pace, and still finished in 15:36. How about a big round of applause for Katie Roseanne? Where's Katie at? She out there? Yeah. Oh, I see a hand. The other night at the Carbo, you met 31-year-old Clayton Treska.
Oh,
He was diagnosed
that's
with
serious.
stage 4 testicular cancer and told it was terminal. But Clayton's a Marine, and he has mind set on finishing what we call the toughest day in sport. Every horrible thing that has happened to me over the past few years made me strong enough to do this, he said last night. Because of the nerve damage in his back from chemotherapy, he had to get off his bike 5 different times during the ride. During the run, he could feel the pain on every step. You could see him grimacing on every step, but he wasn't going to stop. Quote, "The finish line was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Everything I went through and everything I endured, that finish line made it all worthwhile." His time was 15:16. Give it up. The amazing Clayton Treska. We spotlight him. Clayton, where are you at? There he is.
All right.
15:16. He's only been out of the hospital 6 weeks. It's amazing.
Great stories. The stage behind me is